Welcome back to DSR. We're returning once again to the Quickstone book, or the full title is Frontiers of Eberron Quickstone, that is published by Visionary Production and Design, and it just came out on D&D Beyond last week. So I'm going to do another subclass from this one, but I just wanted to point out and bring up the map here for Corvair, the primary continent of Eberron. This is where the primary stuff happens. I mean, it really depends on your campaign, your DM. This is like the main continent. And the area that's highlighted in that little red box is called the Western Front, and Quickstone is the primary town in the Western Front. And this is, yes, got some art that cause it to be themed or look themed like American Old West frontier kind of stuff. But the content, the rules content, the lore content isn't really that. I mean, there's some of that, but don't think that this is going to like force your games. If you use any of this content in your games, it's going to force you to like your characters to be like themed like cowboys and old American West type of stuff. Like there's nothing really here that prevents you in any way with just slight flavor tweaks to make this work with anything. Okay. And I say that because initially when I first saw the cover of this book years ago, I was a little turned off because I was like, I don't know if I want to have American Old West themed stuff in my games. And after reading it, I'm like, no, there is nothing here that causes that. So just a little bit of the art, not even all of the art. And this is actually really, really good stuff. The lore is awesome. The like gazetteer is awesome. And I just love Keith Baker's approach to how he does all of his content and his lore. So, and he does this really great player advice, role play advice stuff, and reflavor advice, which is just excellent. We need more of that. Anyway, so let's get to the subclass. This is the Bloodhound Ranger. Follow your mark to the bitter end. Rangers recognize the primal connection between all living things, and as a bloodhound, you know precisely how to exploit them to track down your chosen prey. The Western Frontier is home to countless fugitives and war criminals, and House Thrashk trains its best hunters to follow these ancient techniques. While on the other side of the border road, Zanir hunters and wargs of the Great Pack use the skills of the Bloodhound to track enemies of Droam. And Droam gets thrown out there a few times. What Droam is a new nation of like monster, historically monster type creatures who've like banded together and like formed a nation, and they considered a nation, and they're trying to get recognized by the other nations as a nation, but the other nations have not yet fully recognized them as like a sovereign nation. So there's kind of that political intrigue going on, and it's got like, what I say, traditionally creatures that are monsters, but it's things that where they could just as easily be, like people, right? So Medusas, gargoyles, harpies, that's why those species are added here. Even wargs are added as a species in this book, and those all kind of like their nation. They don't, of course, each individual doesn't necessarily have to come from there, but that is a nation of those kinds of creatures. All right, and that's on the border of the Western Front. So the Western Front is between Droam and Breland, if you're familiar with the continent in Eberron called Corvair. At level 3, we get our Bloodhound spells, and I'll put these up on the screen. We get Alarm, Hold Person, Clairvoyance, Locate Creature, Scrying, which are can be pretty useful. There's a lot of like, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 of these are divination. No, wait. 3 of these are divination. 1 is enchantment. 1 is abjuration. The divination spells are going to have an important call out. These are all pretty useful. Like Alarm's just nice. It's a good ritual spell, and Rangers benefit from having ritual spells. Alarm is a good ritual spell for like protecting your party during a long rest, just to make sure you guys don't get ambushed. Hold Person is nice for tracking down and like, stopping your prey. If you're trying to hunt somebody and you don't necessarily want to kill them, Hold Person can do that for you, which is great. And then the other 3 are divination spells, which are, handy divination spells. Locate Creature isn't as good as like Locate Object, but Locate Creature is more thematic here. Clairvoyance is good. Scrying is quite good. And the fact that these are divination spells is going to come back up again a little bit later, so I'll get back to that. Then Leyline Tracker. Given your knowledge of the landscape, you can use ley lines as conduits to stretch your magic over vast distances while tracking a target, granting you the following benefits. Mark Bounty. Whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can single out one creature as your bounty. To mark a creature as your bounty, you must have seen that creature or possess an object that has been in their possession for at least 24 hours. Once in each of your turns, you can change your bounty to one creature you can see, no action required. So you don't have to, for the initial mark bounty, and it says whenever you finish a short or long rest. So whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can set your bounty to be any creature that you've ever seen before, or if you have an object that was in their possession for at least 24 hours. And it doesn't have to be their last 24 hours. Like they could have had it in their possession for one day, a century ago, and it still counts. Okay. So then you can make any of those creatures that as a mark bounty. And then on your turns, you can also move your mark bounty to another creature. But when you move it on your turn, that has to be a creature that you can currently see. All right. Then the benefit from that is masterful tracking. Your ranger spells of the divination school can target your bounty at any distance, even if you cannot see them, unless your bounty is protected from divination spells, such as with non-detection, or is on another plane of existence. All right, so this is where the divination spells come back in. So clairvoyance, locate creature, and scrying now have an infinite range. You can cast them at any range, and it says your ranger spells, not just your ranger spells from this subclass of spell list. So it's any ranger divination spell. These three count as ranger spells for you because they are added to your spell list by the subclass. And then any ranger spell that's on the ranger spell list, it's already a divination spell, like Hunter's Mark. Yeah, Hunter's Mark is a divination spell. And that means Hunter's Mark now has an infinite range if you are targeting it or casting it on a creature that is already your mark bounty. Yeah, so somebody who's like 100 miles away, boom, Hunter's Mark on them. Now, I don't know why you'd want to do that other than you want to track them down. And that's why you'd want to do it, right? Because there's a rider effect for Hunter's Mark that I think is often forgotten and rarely used, which is you have advantage on perception and survival checks to find and track the target. So that makes you really good at hunting down these targets. Yeah, just by using Hunter's Mark with that. But also, right, cast scrying. Like you can cast scrying on that creature no matter where they are, and you don't have to cast Hunter's Mark first, right? So you just set mark bounty to them and then cast scrying on them wherever they are, anywhere. And you can leverage that with a number of other spells, right? There's other kinds of spells that require you to have seen that location previously. And like Tree Stride, right? So Tree Stride requires you to have seen that location previously. Well, if you scry the creature where they are, now you've seen that location and you can Tree Stride to a tree in that location, anywhere in the world. Done. Yeah. So not only do you have to not have to travel there, you just scry and then forget tracking them, just teleport right to them. Okay. But also at level 3, Unwavering Attention. When you hit your bounty or a creature currently marked by your Hunter's Mark, you deal an extra 1d6 damage. You can deal this extra damage only once per turn, not once per round. So if you get a reaction attack, you can pull this off again. If you deal this damage as part of an opportunity attack, you can take a reaction again from the start of the next creature's turn instead of your next turn. Okay. So if you get an opportunity attack, and there are a few ways to get opportunity attacks, like the Sentinel Feat gives you an opportunity attack, Zentarum Tactics gives you an opportunity attack, the what is it? The reaction attack you get from Polearm Master does not count as an opportunity attack, but Sentinel and Zentarum Tactics do. There's a few other ways to get additional opportunity attacks. And if you trigger any of these against a creature, then you get your reaction back on the very next creature's turn, not at the next of your own turn. So you could be doing this once per turn, which means many times in a round. If there's 10 creatures provoke your Sentinel or attack, opportunity attack, or your Zentarum Tactics opportunity attack, then that's 10 reaction attacks you make in one round. So with a little bit of tactical play and some building to optimize for that, this is a really, really strong feature. Yeah, this is a really strong feature. Yeah, combined with those things. So you're starting off really good at level 3. And, and also you're getting the extra 1d6 damage on top of that. So at level 3, I mean, a damage of an attack is probably going to be like a 1d6 or a 1d8, depending on what kind of weapon you're using. Opportunity attack is specifically going to be like a 1d6, maybe a 1d8 as a ranger. And plus, your ability score modifier, which is probably a 3 right now. Plus, if you've got Hunter Mark on them, then that's going to be another 1d6. And then this is going to be another 1d6. So for the Hunter's Mark, which will only be 1, there will only be even if you're making these opportunity attacks against 10 creatures, because there's 10 attacking you in one round, you're only going to be able to get the Hunter's Mark damage on them once, or the Bounty Hunter. So, Mark Bounty, if you happen to have Hunter's Mark and Mark Bounty on different targets, then you would be able to get that 1d6 twice. But you could still make the reaction attack, right? Because it doesn't say that it does say if you deal this damage, so you do have to deal this damage. Okay, so you can't do this 10 times. It's going to have to be on a creature that is either the Hunter's Mark or your Mark Bounty. So at most, you're going to be able to get 3 reactions, right? Yes, you're going to be able to get 3 reactions. Once if you have a creature under Mark Bounty, and once if you have a creature under Hunter's Mark, and then you get your reaction back, and then you'll make a 3rd reaction attack, and that one is not going to be restored at the next creature's start of the next creature's turn. It's going to wait till your turn to restore. So like, but still 3 reactions at level 3. Yeah, that's pretty good. And frankly, it's unrealistic that you would get 10 creatures are going to all trigger your reaction attacks in one round, right? You might get multiple creatures, like 2 or 3 is probably the most likely highest amount anyway. Unless you're trying to be the tank. Yeah, you might provoke more than that if you're trying to be the tank. Anyway, moving on to level 7, Relentless Pursuit. If your bounty or a creature currently marked by your hunter's mark ends its turn more than 5 feet away from you and you can see it, you can use your reaction to move your speed towards it. This movement does not provoke an opportunity attack. So a pretty good mobility feature there. And it's just that they end their turn more than 5 feet away from you. So you can just keep chasing them down, right? And so this is the reason why you might want to increase your movement speed, just so that you can do this even further. So if they end their turn like 40 or 50 feet away from you, if you have a movement speed of 40 or 50, you run right up to them. And that way, if they move again, they're going to provoke an opportunity attack. But of course, you're going to get your turn before they get their next turn. So you can whack them a few times and then provoke an opportunity attack. That gives you basically the ability that they cannot escape you. You will always run them down and keep making, your whole turn, your turn worth of attacks on them, which is anywhere between 2 to 4 attacks that you might be able to pull off. So that's a pretty interesting mobility feature. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Okay, Eyes on the Prize. This is level 11. You focus everything on bringing your chosen target down. When you take the attack action and target only one creature with your attacks, you can make an additional attack. So now we're getting another attack, right? And on top of potentially 2 or 3 reactions in a round, now we're getting another attack. And this is just as part of your action, part of your attack action. So no additional action economy required. The additional attack has to be made against that creature specifically. So that's going to be kind of a lot of the time, right? But you have to attack it with every one of your attacks. So you couldn't have attacked a different creature and then attack it, then you get another attack. Like if you have 2 attacks, then all 2 attacks have to go against that creature, and then you get a third against that creature. And if you have 3 attacks, or potentially, it says during the attack action. So it's specifically the attack action. So if you have 3 attacks with your attack action, which you could get with like a light weapon and Nick Mastery, then you could make 3 attacks as part of your attack action, and all 3 of those have to be on this target. It is an interesting thing if you happen to have Cleave, because Cleave specifically is part of your attack act. Well, you would make it as part of your attack action if it's triggered with your action. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting interaction with Cleave. Okay, then you get an additional attack against this creature. If the additional attack is a melee attack and hits, the target has either the grapple or prone condition, your choice. And if the additional attack is a range attack and hits, the target has the prone condition. And so think of it like, regardless of whether it's a melee attack or range attack, they can have the prone condition. And if it's a melee attack, then you can optionally grapple instead of prone. Now, grappled still requires you to have a hand free, because it doesn't indicate that something else is grappling them. It is you grapple them. So in order to grapple them, you have to have a hand free. So you might want to, if you got your hands full, you're 2-weapon fighting, or you got a sword and shield or something like that. It's kind of unlikely that as a ranger, you're going to have a hand free, unless you're like a Thri-kreen ranger. Then you might have a hand free, and you can grapple with one of your free hands, because you got 4. So but most of the time you're probably just going to prone regardless either way. And that's still pretty good, right? That really hinders them. It gives, anybody who's making attacks against them while prone advantage on those attack rolls. They have to spend half their movement to stand up. So if you want to keep a creature from getting away from you, right, you're using your reaction to run right up to them. You're making an extra attack against them on top of your regular 2 to 3 attacks that action. So you're making 3 or 4 attacks against them and just pounding them. So yeah, this is really strong, I think, actually. Level 15, Nowhere to Hide. Illusions and other magical concealments cannot hinder your pursuit. You can cast True Seeing on yourself without expending a spell slot or material components. If you do so, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. But True Seeing lasts for 1 hour. So that's going to be a lot. Like most of the time, you'll be able to have True Seeing up. Now, you don't have to, I don't know that I would just cast True Seeing just because. Like, don't just cast it as soon as you finish a long rest. And maybe don't even cast it even if you know you're going into a combat. If you're going into a combat and you suspect that the creatures will be able to leverage illusions or shape-changing or invisibility, then go ahead and cast it before combat. Otherwise, I would wait until the situation comes up, then just cast it, and you're good for the next hour. And to bring it back, all you have to do is take a short rest, and you can do it again. So that's pretty good. Additionally, when you use your Leyline Tracker feature to target your bounty, you are not affected by magic that conceals your bounty from your divination spells. So now you're immune to effects and it says Leyline Tracker, But up here, it's actually called Masterful Tracker. So there's a bit of a mistake there, and I'll let them know so they can fix that. So it's talking about this one, right? I guess it's Leyline Tracker. So the super feat is called Leyline Tracker. The sub feat is called Masterful Tracking. So when you use Mark Bounty, they can't use non-detection against you. You're immune to like the effects of non-detection and anything else like that. They cannot be protected from your divination spells. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, at any range, even if they've got non-detection going. So it doesn't matter what they're doing, you will hunt them down and probably beat them into a pulp with all of your extra attacks. You're making multiple extra attacks, and multiple like additional extra attacks is a big deal on any marshal, and you're a ranger, so you're a marshal. This is a strong ranger. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. All right, so yeah, let's tier rank this thing. It's going to be an A right at level 3 and an A overall. Yeah, so at level 3, you're getting those extra reaction attacks, which is solid. You get the ability to move your Hunter's Mark, or you move Mark Bounty, and have your Mark Bounty feature, which allows you to cast Hunter's Mark at a much larger range, bypassing range restrictions and other ranger divination spells. That's a pretty good package right at level 3. Then at later levels, you're getting additional attacks and additional movement options. So this one's pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna give it a D for tanking. And remember, that doesn't mean you are a D at tanking. It means this subclass is adding a D's worth of tanking package features to what you already have as your build. All right. Then an A for a frontliner, and that's because all of these features require you, like your extra reaction attacks require you to be standing next to the enemy when they attack you on their turns, which means you can't end your turn away from them. You want to end your turn next to them so you can be provoking all these extra opportunity attacks. So really the frontliner is the best way to play this thing if you want to maximize all of the features you're getting from it. Then a B as a skirmisher, B as range, C for controller, A as a scout, right? Because you can be like scrying these creatures at any range, like infinite range, right? Like you might be an S tier. I mean, I would say that's your S tier scout once you get scrying, but that's not to level 17. Yeah. And locate creature, the biggest downside of locate creature is it doesn't have a very big range. It's like 1,000 feet compared to like locate object, which is like 5 miles or something like that. But locate creature, if you're trying to locate creature on your Mark Bounty, the range is now infinite. So that fixes the biggest problem with locate creature. So on this subclass, locate creature is actually a really good spell. Yeah. Because who do you want to locate more than anyone else? Your Mark Bounty, right? So make that one your Mark Bounty, then locate creature at any range, and you know where they are. And you can do the same thing with clairvoyance. That kind of makes clairvoyance basically function like scrying, because you can target them with clairvoyance at any range. So you're like an S tier scout at level 9. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say that averages out overall for all 20 levels that you are an A tier scout overall, but you will become an S tier later in later levels. All right, then a B for self-buff, a D for survival, B for knowledge, and a C for mobility. Yeah. The Relentless Pursuit is actually like, it's an A tier mobility feature, but it's limited in direction and when you can use it. It has to be only moved towards a creature, and that creature has to be marked by your Hunter's Mark or your Mark Bounty. So it has to be marked by either one of those things, and then you can only move towards it. If it lets you move anywhere you want, at any time you want as a reaction, then that would be an A overall. But because it's limited like that in circumstantial, I'm going to give it a C. But I still think it's a good feature, because a lot of times you do want to be chasing down your prey because you are a frontliner. And here it is in context with everything else. So another A for Quickstone. So far, what is that? 3 subclasses, all 3 are A's. Yeah, I think these are pretty good. And if we sort, so we can group all the rangers together, you can see where this falls in with all the other rangers. Whoop, didn't get them all. There we go. There's all the rangers. We got a lot of ranger subclasses covered now. Most of them are A's. Yeah. And actually, one other thing, let me go back to sorting by the source. So we have 2 books now covered that are created by the same group called Visionary Production and Design. So it's this book and Exploring Eberron. They actually sort alphabetically right next to each other. So they did both of these books. And so, yeah, highlighting all of these, all A's. Yeah, really good. Mostly A's, right? We've got, these are capstones. So these are not even like subclasses, but they are optional subclass features for Artificer subclasses specifically. So those aren't classes, those are features. And so we actually have just one subclass from them that's not an A. Otherwise, they have all A's all the way down. And that one subclass is an S, and that one is actually driven by Keith Baker, as I understand it. Not really, like Visionary Production and Design didn't really get to design that one. I mean, I think that they had some input. And Keith Baker, like that's in Keith. Like I understand that Keith Baker's view of the Maverick is what the base artificer, was supposed to be. Yeah. So that's an interesting perspective, right? The Maverick is actually it's actually a really good artificer subclass. I mean, it's an S. It's the best artificer subclass out of everything, in my opinion. And it's interesting that his view is that one should have been the base artificer, which would have made the base artificer a really strong base class. Really, because the Maverick has access to the cleric, druid, and wizard spell lists, as well as the artificer spell list. Then they get to be able to create pseudo spells up to level 6, like pseudo spell scrolls. We'll call it. They function like spell scrolls up to level 6. So they're casting the level 6 spells. Now only they can use these spell scrolls, these pseudo spell scrolls. But that means they're casting 6th level spells, unlike every other artificer out there. So that would have been pretty interesting if that was the base artificer subclass. But visionary production design, killing it. Yeah, because in my opinion, A is the goal, S is not the goal. S means you overshot a little bit, B means you undershot a little bit, but A is what you're trying to go for. And everything in the game, ideally, would be an A. And there would just be A in different ways, so you have different options that are all equally powerful in different ways. That would be the ideal game we'd have, which would be extremely hard to achieve, right? Especially as the game evolves, as things are added, right? It would be hard to keep that balance. But that's the goal, in my opinion. Okay, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I hope it helped. If you don't have enough D&D in your life, remember you can check the video description. There's a link to join my Discord, just a community of people who love talking about D&D. There is a link to Caius's monster data that I reference regularly about how many monsters are resistant or immune to different things. There's a link to my DSR rules document, Google Doc, that has the rulings, the homebrew stuff that I do, the here's how I run and make these things work together kind of stuff, which I don't really consider homebrew. I consider it more like fixing stuff that's already part of the game to just make it work well together, like bastions and downtime and crafting. That's probably like the biggest part of it. And factions, those 4 things are probably the biggest part of that. And finally, there's a link to the Google Drive that has all of these Google Sheets in it that have all these ratings in there. And all those things have no paywall. You can just access them directly. Just go to that link and use it. That's why I created it. They are meant as community resources to help people get into D&D easier, to get into having fun and playing D&D and spending less time building characters, unless that's what you enjoy doing, right? A lot of us do enjoy making characters. There's a limit, though, on how much time you want to spend building a character versus actually playing D&D, right? So, yeah, this is meant to help. So I hope they do help. Yeah, there is a link to join my Patreon as well. And a big shout out to all my Patreon members. Thank you all so much, especially the Frontliners and the Artificer tier Patreons. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you. I couldn't do this without you, so thank you. And, big thanks to everyone who chooses to support in that way. And if it doesn't make sense for you to support in that way, then that's okay. Don't worry about it. Just like, subscribe, commenting, and watching videos is a great way to support. So thank you for any way that you choose to support. You're awesome. And finally, remember that D&D is a game. Yeah, the point of it is to have fun with your friends. So please be cool when you play D&D, all right? Okay, catch you next time.